Hey everyone, it's me, Joey Only Caribbean Weather Dude. Please hit like, share, subscribe. So we got a major fire going on up by Fort Nelson, British Columbia. Mass evacuation going on. That's the entire community is being evacuated, and the First Nations there, Fort Nelson. So major fire story underway. We're going to look at the weather that's going on right now and what's pushing this wind and why they've made the call to evacuate and what we can maybe expect the next day or two. All right, let's go. This is bad news. My God. Falling out right now. Anything could happen. Wow. I'll watch the video later.
Feel the heat.
I need more blanks, I need water.
They ain't dry mopping this. We got some warm, dry days ahead. There's not going to be much of a weather change until the low pressure system sort of moves through and the cold front passes. It won't really be till Wednesday where there'll be any precipitation at all up in the Fort Nelson area and temperatures cool down. Very windy conditions on Monday are quite likely. So we're quite concerned, as well as we have days of active fire weather still between now and Monday. So Monday it's going to really be push. I think if we can get through to Wednesday, anything's possible in terms of winning this fire. But I'm going to show you now why I'm saying what I'm saying. Here we go. This satellite thermal imaging. So this is a good tool to get a good idea of what's actually going on out there and what the satellite is seeing for thermal hotspots. So it is true around 6:30. A friend of mine who is involved in some of the things that are happening let me know what the situation, and I went and looked on thermal imaging for myself right away and seeing what was going on and started trying to get a look at the weather and get an idea of what's happening. So we got this fire up there, Highway 77, right along the Fort Nelson River. Fort Nelson, British Columbia, according to 2016 census has 3,366 people who live there. That is that many people who live there right now. Is that many people who are in the community right now for work or whatever. So we know upwards of 3,000 people are going to have to leave. So that means we have threat for Fort Nelson, Old Fort up here. We have a little community up in Old Fort up here. Airports up there. We have Musqueam down here, Fort Nelson First Nation. So those are all under threat. If this comes over the hill, if this crosses the river, well, why do we think that that's possible? When you look at these thermal hotspot imaging, that's some pretty hot fire activity. So that fire was really moving today. And it was coming because we had very warm temperatures and very low humidity. And that's expected tomorrow as well, although maybe not as hot as in southern British Columbia necessarily, but warm considering how dry it is up there, what the drought situation's like. And we have these winds coming out of the northwest. So those winds out of the northwest are immediately challenging Fort Nelson. And although the winds will calm a little tomorrow, there's still the potential for wind gusts in the afternoon, I think, to kick up and maybe send that. And that's not a very big distance here we're talking about. So very extreme fire behavior, it appears to be happening there. That is not really the concern right now. We generally would expect these fires to push this direction, more or less, right? So we do have these northwesterlies that are pushing things downward, right? So that's why you see some more of the edge. So that means you're having this fire is traveling in a direction not quite beelining for Fort Nelson, but you look where the head of the fire is, it can easily. This is a very concerning situation, right? So we just look at Saturday afternoon for the temperatures, and we're just going to choose 4 o'clock on Saturday afternoon. As you can see in southern British Columbia, we're going to see some pretty warm temperatures, in some places even getting up to 30 degrees, right? But if we go up to Fort Nelson, not quite as hot necessarily, 18 degrees at 4 o'clock. So GFS mostly agrees. North American model seems to say the same thing. What do you got for us, Icon? No one disagrees with 18 degrees. So that's probably maybe 19. That's probably the sort of high we're looking at tomorrow up there. So not extremely hot, no. And that's good news, definitely, because if it was in the 20s, you definitely see a fire more aggressive. And even if we look at our wind, and this is, the winds do look like they're dying down a little bit tomorrow. We're not getting quite as strong a flow tomorrow, but we do have that potential for wind gusts. And ECMWF model is showing those wind gusts to be right where we don't want them to be in the late afternoon, right? So that could abate by the time 6 o'clock rolls around. We could really see embers flying in the direction of Fort Nelson quite easily on Saturday, right? So this is a very concerning situation. Winds, temperatures a little warmer yet on Sunday. We're looking till Wednesday until we start seeing a real weather change up there. So we got some days ahead where this will be a real concern. And, the big concern also is the humidex values. So we look at these humidex values and you see 18. So we got crossover weather, 18% and possibly 18 degrees Celsius, maybe 19 in the area on Saturday afternoon. And it doesn't seem to die off much. By 8 o'clock at night, it's still in the 25 percentile, still hitting 30 by 10 o'clock at night, and still, in the 39%. So we're not talking about a dew point night at all. And Sunday afternoon, straight back to that potential crossover, although flirting with it, strong winds on Monday, right? So this is the other concern, is that first we got to get through the weekend, but then we might see westerlies, straight 22 kilometers an hour from the west, right? And if those are gusting, if some of these areas where they're saying in this model that the gusts are going up to 70, we'll say, I mean, that's challenging this fire, right, already. If we get in the 50s, that's still going to push that fire like crazy, right? And Monday afternoon, 3 o'clock, strong winds, fairly warm temperatures, and the sort of humidity that would make for active fire weather. So this is a real concern. And, this is not the only place that's concerning. Fort Mac right now has the potential. There's some fires that have lit up there. It has the potential to be a real issue as well. So Fort McMurray, Fort Nelson, the forts are under threat. We have severe drought intensity up there. You go deep in the soil, severe drought intensity. And as we go through the next week, it will, at some point, when that cold front kind of moves through and we get a little bit of a weather change, particularly on Wednesday, you're going to see some real change up there, hopefully, but not serious change, not meaningful change. This isn't like ending change. It may suppress fire behavior for a bit and allow crews to get on top of things. All right. So as we look at where fire spread index, we look at the next bunch of days, either high or very high or extreme in the Fort Nelson area. We see conditions improve for the rest of British Columbia, sorta. This is more or less still what I was saying in my forecast last week. So Tuesday, Wednesday, maybe we start seeing a change, but not a great change, a lowering of the potential. The drought's not gone. The fuel's not gone. The fire won't be gone. So even by next Saturday, 10% fuel moisture. So, compared to 4%, this is still 10%. That's not good, man. It's not good. 10% fuel moisture is not what we want to be seeing right now. And we just have a look at rain accumulation. As we know, there's a bit of a weather change coming to BC. Look at rain accumulation. A little bit of rain up there to help calm things down when we get this change in weather, but nothing meaningful, right? So let's have a peek through where things are going this week. Saturday is very dry, BC, very dry, very dry. Coming into Sunday, starting to get some of that weather on the coast. Things cooling down, but of course that's the passing of this low pressure system. It's going to still keep trying to bring winds down from the northwest. As you see, those isobars are allowing it to move in that northerly direction, as the same way they're allowing it to come from a south on the east side of the low, right? So this is going to be kick up the winds. It's this low we're going to be watching for, especially when it comes through. But it's going to take its time. That's the story this weekend. This cold front, this low coming through, the backside of the low, feeding the winds, and some mercy, maybe. There are going to be some wicked thunderstorms. We were talking about this in the meteorological report last night. Some wicked thunderstorms expected this week over in the Alberta side. And so there's Monday, strong winds on Monday. And you see precipitation trying to move through. Maybe we'll get lucky and some of this will jump over the Rockies there. But it doesn't seem to want to much. There you go, Wednesday. That's our big hope. The big hope is Wednesday. And hopefully it's more than 10 millimeters. Hopefully it's more than the forecast is calling for. Big concerns right now. We look at the fire danger projections for, say, May 13th, Monday. You start to see southern BC cooling off. You start to see expectations for the north. But this map may be already a little bit old. We'll go ahead to the 15th. So, not promising, right? Go back to the 10th here. Have a look where we're at. Certainly looking better in the days to come than right now. There you go. We got fire potential still in southern BC as well. Absolutely, obviously. Our big concern was, in my last forecast video, I was saying that I was quite concerned about the Peace and Fort Nelson area, and that seems to be exactly what's happening. So, big time concern, mass evacuation happening right now. Hopefully, this weather helped you make a little bit of sense of it. My forecast here. Thanks very much. Hit like, share, subscribe, and if you know people in Fort Nelson, see what you can do to help them. Okay, stay safe, everyone out there. Good luck. That's the end of fire forecast number 5 for me.